When we go through heavy situations, our first instinct is usually to fight it. We just want to get out of it as soon as possible. We feel like we didn't choose it, so we simply don't want it. We want it away from us. We don't want to deal with it. And we just look at it as a problem that needs to be solved immediately, sooner than later. And when I recently went through a dark time, I had the same instinct. In fact, I felt so guilty also in a way. I felt self shame. I felt embarrassed because I felt like, why does this keep happening? Like every now and again, find myself in what seems like exactly the same situation where I feel so bleak, I feel so low about everything, and I just question everything, and I don't like it. I didn't want it because I felt like I built this life for myself. I'm quite content with everything. There is no reason for me to feel this bad. So, what is really going on? But what was also true was I was approaching these same situations every single time from exactly that standpoint. Like every single time I would just fight it instantly. I would feel bad about myself. I would blame myself in a way. So, of course, every single time the outcome was exactly the same. But there's also a time that comes, and it usually only happens after like pretty much weeks of tiring myself out from this sort of thinking, that I enter like a different state that I can only kind of explain as like exploration maybe, or like curiosity, where I start asking more profound questions, or let's not even say profound in a philosophical sense, but really questions that are burning within me that maybe I've been avoiding. I remember this moment very clearly. Like I was walking with my dog and I was like, I was in the trenches. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was feeling very, very, very bad, and I was so tired of feeling bad. So I thought, okay, what if for a moment I try to think of this as not something that's happening from outside of me? Because that's what it always felt like. It felt like something would just happen and it would approach and I would feel it approaching and I couldn't do anything about it. And then once it was there, it would just be all encompassing and it would just ruin my day and days or even weeks. And I would just hate it. I just didn't want it. So, in that moment when I was walking my dog, I thought, what if for a moment, I don't even have to believe it, but what if I just pretend for a moment that this happens for me and it's not happening against me? What would happen? And instantly, in that moment, I took this huge breath in and this huge breath out. Like, you know, these types of breaths that I'm talking about, when it's like you feel like for the first time in a long time, like your breath is really filling your lungs up fully. And I felt that and I was just aware of it. I didn't go anywhere with it. I didn't even think further than that. I just thought, okay, what happens if I just pretend for a moment that this is what's happening? And my body instantly felt this sense of relief. And I think in our day to day life, we really ignore those little signs our bodies give us because we're so much in our brain and so much in our own head, like trying to logically think ourselves out of bad situations, that we don't pay attention to what our body tells us. And just this small moment of breath, of breathing, already felt like a weight off my shoulders in that moment. And then from there, it was really baby steps. It wasn't just this like sudden epiphany, but this moment of relaxation, I felt like really gave me an entry point to just smooth smoothly walk my way into that perspective shift. And then I realized that, okay, even though I think these reactions are exaggerated and I don't really need to feel that bad and there's no need for that, how do I know? Like, I really think we more often need to take a perspective of we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's happening, and not approach that from a sense of annoyance and wanting to take control, but try to enter it from a sense of curiosity and exploration. Like, I don't know if it's exaggerated or not. How do I know that? Maybe it is that urgent just because I think it's not that urgent. Maybe it really is that urgent, and why don't I trust that a little bit? Like, because I really realized that there were structures in my life and circumstances that, or needs that weren't really being met in a way that I needed, and I had been overlooking them for such a long time. Because you know how it is, like in everyday life, you just run on autopilot sometimes, or very slowly because of stress or whatever is going on, you chip away at those things that you need for yourself to feel sane and feel healthy, and you kind of subtract from that because you need more time for other things, and then lo and behold, eventually you find yourself kind of in these situations, and then we act all surprised and like they come out of nowhere, right? Sometimes I think we need to trust even those feelings and those heavy phases, those dark phases, not trust the stories necessarily we build around it and like that blame and guilt that come up, but rather like curious in a sense of, if it's trying to help me, how is it helping me? I really just listened. I think that's what it was. I really just tried to listen, and ultimately I understand like why I keep going through these phases, I think. And if next time it happens and I feel like I don't know, then that's the reason for me to learn, right? Because I think whenever I enter those heavy moments and these like dark phases, it's because I'm squeezing myself into structures that are truly not good for me anymore. And my autopilot brain might not see that, but something is seeing that, right? I don't want to get too philosophical or spiritual here if that's not what you believe in, but I do believe that we're way more than just this perspective, right? So sometimes I need to tell myself to trust more rather than instantly try to take control. And then once those emotions lifted and things felt a little more lighter and like I could take on more work, because well, the downside of like this dark phase, one of the downsides, there's a lot to them, but like one of those things is that, well, you don't really have a lot of resource, you don't have a lot of fuel, right? So once those heavy emotions lift and you feel a little lighter, then that's when you can approach whatever insights you had and like kind of implement those into your life so that you can rebuild a structure that fits your life more. And that's why I think it's such a superpower, because as uncomfortable as it is, it really tends to strip you down to like your core almost, right? It really takes away so many filters. It makes you question everything a lot of the time. And that's so painful. It's really, really hurtful. But it's also clarity. So once everything gets stripped away, it's such a clean slate to start working on again. And I can't imagine anything that is probably more powerful. Even if sometimes, like, let's say you're an overthinker and you often think about your life and how you can restructure things, it's that filter that just changes once you get in those very dark moments, and that really it kind of has this sense of urgency also that you just don't have otherwise. I think it's important to say also that I'm not trying to romanticize what it really means to be in those pits of darkness, because there's nothing nice about it. Let's just say that there's nothing really comfortable about it. Even me saying this now, it comes from a place after that happened. It doesn't come from I'm still within that, because I really do think that there's a reason for why it tries to draw you back in, because that's where you need to be in that moment. You need to be within yourself and kind of ask questions inward. Doesn't mean you have to do everything by yourself, but it just means that you are the center. Like, you need to be centered. You need to come back to your own center. And it's only, I think, afterwards that you came back to that center and then rebuild your structure around that center, that you can then see it as something super, super valuable and super um beautiful in a way, to be really honest. This sounds so much like I'm trying to romanticize like dark moments in your life. It's not about romanticizing though, it's about seeing life in all of its facets as your companion and as your teacher, rather than punishment, rather than senseless pain. So while it's not easy, like I think it's the hardest thing to lean into a feeling that is so painful. But I think paradoxically, once you do, it gets lighter. So much of this feels so paradoxical, but once you lean in, it becomes lighter. It kind of loses its weight because it's not something you're resisting anymore. It's something you're leaning into and using for yourself. You're not looking at it as, why does this keep happening to me? like I don't deserve this. Like all these expectations and this resistance is exactly what keeps that pain alive. So taking it and like alchemizing it into something that works for you is truly the most powerful thing you can do. It truly allows you to see you at the core, stripped away from everything else that you had built around yourself and this identity that you thought that you had, and then really try to rebuild from this sense of clarity and authenticity. And that makes me feel so powerful once I'm out of it. Like when I'm still in it, trust me, I don't see it like that. When I'm still in it, it's very, very painful. But once I'm out of it, it helps me see that phase as something that truly serves me instead of seeing it as something that happens to me and comes to me and I block it off here. I kind of see myself more as a little translucent, almost like I'm a little fluid, like something can happen and it can come towards me and it can pass through me and it will change me, and that's totally okay, and I will use it for my own advantage. I'm not gonna block it off here and fight it constantly because it's probably not gonna go anywhere. Like these forces have this way about themselves that they don't just really go, and the more resistance you put on it does not equal more success when it comes to warding it off. So letting it in gently and, letting it pass through you and, just letting it go forward to wherever it needs to go, like truly makes me feel way more powerful. Ironically, because I don't feel like I need to control it, I just need to lean into it. And there's so much more confidence in that and so much more resilience in that because it doesn't rely on your resistance. It just relies on you just being there and welcoming whatever comes towards you and trusting yourself that you'll be able to move through it and let it move through you and you'll be fine. That being said, of course, you don't have to go through anything alone. So, whatever support you can get and you should get it, please. Also, of course, as I always say, my goal is to build a community where we can talk about these things and we can support each other in that and make things a little easier for us, because as beautiful as I can now look back on it, I cannot deny the pain that comes with it. So I think it is absolutely invaluable to have a community of people that you can rely on when that happens and that you can fall back on. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Dragged by my feet and pulled up by the moonlight. Lungs filled with whole pants caught up in a riptide. No, no, don't you